Thank you for coming out on this blustery, almost winter day. I guess technically we're still in fall, right? And we are in the gratitude month, and right now I'm very grateful somebody left their reading glasses up here so that I can see for the message today. The title for today is Living with a Thankful Heart, and we are doing our Thanksgiving dinner after service, so if you hadn't heard that yet, please feel free to come down and enjoy some fellowship after service. And what I was thinking about, it's Thanksgiving service, and it's Grateful Month, and then Christians talk last week. How do you top that? Because that was just amazing. I came across, and in fact I had read this book before, but you know how books always appear again when you need. It's a Greg Braden book. It's called The Isaiah Effect. And in fact, this was in the Unity Library. So it makes it even more fitting. Of course, I've marked it all up now. But there's a little part in here of an experiment they did with allowing feeling in our hearts to see what that would do. And the experiment's been run in many different places in many different ways over the years, where they ask people, they train them to feel a certain feeling, whether that's peace or joy or happiness. And the feeling itself then radiates as the prayer. So there's an acknowledgement that we are all connected. And now they can measure this, which is outstanding, that science has caught up to what people have known on the planet for thousands of years, is that you're connected to each other and the planet. So they can actually measure this now. And in a lot of books, they're calling this the grand matrix. It's God. The grand matrix is God. But if scientists want to call it the matrix and they get the same message, I'm all for it. It's all great. Language is just, take away some of the vocabulary and you have the same message. But in the introduction to the Isaiah Effect, he brings up the mass prayer that was implemented on Friday the 13th, 1998. And I'm just going to read these two paragraphs because I think it's important enough to just read it. As a choice of peace during a time of escalating political tensions in many parts of the world, Friday, November 13th, 1998, a mass prayer was implemented on a worldwide basis. Of specific interest that day was the expiration of a timeline imposed on Iraq to comply with the United Nations demands for weapons inspections. Following months of unsuccessful negotiations for access into sensitive sites, the nations of the West had made it clear that Iraq's failure to comply would result in a massive and extended bombing campaign designed to destroy suspected weapon sites. Such a campaign would certainly have resulted in a great loss of life, both civilian and military. Linked through a global community using the World Wide Web, several 100,000 people chose peace in a mass prayer carefully synchronized to precise moments that evening. During the time of prayer, an event occurred that many consider to be a miracle. 30 minutes into the aerial attack, the President of the United States, having received a letter from Iraq officials stating that they would now cooperate with the requested weapons inspection, issued a rare order to U.S. forces to stand down, aborting the mission. A synchronized feeling of peace. It wasn't a synchronized feeling of what we want to happen. It was a synchronized feeling of what does peace feel like to these people. So they had to think about that. What does peace feel like? How does that feel in my body? And then that's what they decided to feel collectively at the same time. Now these World Wide Web collective prayers happen I'd say all the time. I'm only aware of them sometimes on a weekly basis, but you can actually log into a site that shows who has clicked the button to decide that they are going to feel a certain feeling and at that time, and how many other people are doing that. And you can find that link through the HeartMath Institute if you're interested. I don't remember the exact address, but I can get there through the HeartMath Institute. And they will put up every so often, okay, this month we're going to feel gratitude. Let's go there since that's the theme of the month. Gratitude. But before that can happen, these people need to decide, what does that feel like? How does gratitude feel when you place it in your heart? It's very different than praying through words. Now, words can invoke the feeling for you. So if you remember that somebody came to you and said, I really appreciate what you did, and you felt gratitude in your heart, or if you remember a time somebody did something for you. So many, many years ago, man, this had to be at least 20 years ago, somebody found out that we were out of work in the house, and they dropped off to a mutual acquaintance a ham and fixins for a dinner. I don't know who this person was. I just know a box was left with our name on it to somebody else that brought the box over to us. Well, gratitude. Gratitude for that person, for being able to have a dinner that night, all that wonderful stuff. What does that feel like to you? What part of your life can you transfer into that kind of feeling? And then the prayer is that feeling, way more than... So these people could have sat down all together and thought, well, we want this specific thing to happen. And they didn't. They just left it open to the universe to decide what peace was in that moment, however that panned out, that feeling of peace. Your feeling of gratitude, how does that extend? How does that extend? Through experiments like this, they've been able to actually calculate how many people it takes to affect so many other people. Quite amazing, isn't it? Energy-wise, they can actually measure. So they've been to different places and they've had people feel peace in other areas. James Twyman, I might have his name pronounced. Did I have it right? James Twyman organizes events like this all over the world. He's another one you can look up on the internet, but he took a group of people just recently to some of the battlegrounds around the world, and when he had that group of people standing where they were hearing gunshots and felt peace, within 20 minutes they didn't hear any gunshots. So it works. They've done it in places like Washington, D.C. and other metropolitan areas, and they have people around, say, at 8 o'clock, we're going to feel this way. And the ambulances are very nil that night. The policemen don't have as many reports to write. I mean, statistically, over and over again, it shows that that kind of prayer is so effective. That's what the collective responds to. If you think of God as more than the whited beard guy sitting up there picking which prayer was most effective to work a miracle on, and rearrange your brain to, you are a piece of God that can initiate that change in whatever way that is, by feeling the feeling, taking the time. Now, it's hard to be in that space all the time. It really, really is. Stuff happens in your life, and you don't want to feel gratitude that day, or it's really, really hard to feel gratitude. But what if you took 3 minutes and decided, for 3 minutes, I'm going to allow joy to fill my heart. I'm going to allow gratitude to fill my heart. Just that 3 minutes. They've actually measured that if you can hold that for 3 minutes, the little place around you totally changes. It's like dumping that pebble in the water and watching the ripples roll, and how far do those ripples go? It's 1 in every 1,000 people. One person can affect 1,000 people. That's what they figured out. That's amazing. That's a very little part of our world population needed to affect change. So one person can make such a huge difference. And one thing I've realized, and even just meditating on the topic, living with a thankful heart is more than, we all sit down. I'm thankful for my grandma. I'm thankful for I have sweet potatoes today. I'm thankful I have a roof over my head. There's a lot of people, believe it or not, they just had World Toilet Day. I had no idea reading this stuff. How many people don't have access to a bathroom? So I'm thankful I have a bathroom in my house. And even in the United States, how many people do not have a sewage system? It just blew my mind. So all those things are great to be thankful for. But what about being grateful that you have that power to choose whether to make a difference or not? It's huge. Gratitude for just you being here in a place right now. Gratitude that you can join together. I mean, if you take every person in this room and then multiply that by 1,000, holy cow. Just by choosing here and there. It doesn't mean you gotta be perfect. Living with a thankful heart, oh my goodness, I'm so not 100% there. I'm not sure, Jesus and Buddha are probably the best examples of somebody that could hold it longer, but even they had their moments. Because that human condition will creep in. But choosing to go back to that, and learning what that feels like. Taking the time to learn what it feels like for you so you can just feel it. And the feeling is the prayer. The feeling is the prayer. And then how do you get to that feeling? Some people, to get to that feeling, it is a written prayer. And I know some people that do that beautiful. They can invoke such feeling through their words that the whole energy of the place shifts and everybody's in that spot. For others, it might be chimes or music or incense. I know a whole bunch of people that carries different crystals in their pocket and rub them. You know what? It doesn't matter, I guess is what I'm saying, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what building you walk into for your church. It doesn't matter what gets you in that space as long as you know what gets you in that space. And then allow yourself to feel it without boundaries. Without boundaries. Grateful for my children. Without boundaries. So not, I really hope he gets a job. I really hope he drives okay and doesn't get stuck in the snow. Just gratitude for the person he is. And then let it spread from there. And then know whatever you're feeling, you can ignite that part of somebody else's soul. Think about that. So we all come here with a light of divine. And it depends on what we're feeling and what we've decided to recognize, what color, breadth, width that light gets. And maybe that bright light is in different parts. Maybe part of it's joy, and maybe part of it's gratitude, and maybe, part of it's love, and part of it's peace. And what part of that is the brightest right now, or what part of it's even ignited? What part of it do we recognize? And you can see that in people in different services around the world, the ones that are really into their calling. Well, that part is really ignited in them. That's amazing. And you have the ability through just feeling, allowing yourself to feel that, and allowing it to spread beyond you, to ignite somebody else's soul in that way, and that part of the spark to be, what color is that for them? Maybe feeling the gratitude, all of a sudden the person that you recognize as the really grumpy one decides to smile that day instead of saying, oh my goodness, it's Monday and I'm back at work. Who knows? It could be as small as that. And the universe totally celebrates. We do not know how much of an effect we have sometimes and what it is that the angels are singing about. We just don't know. It could be, and Christian uses this example, so if you've heard it before, I apologize. But a person through a meditation, what he would call a near-death experience, realized when he had total access to his angels, and the angels talking to him, saying, do you remember when you were 8 years old and you grabbed a bucket of water out of the stream because you were camping with your dad and he asked you to go get some water? And that bucket was really heavy. And yet, you saw a little twig of a tree in the woods and went out of your way to put some water on it, even though it was really hard carrying that bucket. And then you took the bucket the rest of the way to your dad. And he's like, what? That's what you're celebrating? And they're like, yeah, that was so selfless and so wonderful. And you didn't do it for any reason other than to help the little tree. There was no other, what are you going to get back for that? Wow. And then, wow. To know that the angels sing for the tiniest things that you do on a day-to-day basis, and ones that you may just do because it's just pure thankfulness in your heart and no other reason. Ones that you will never get a thank you for in this lifetime. You gotta wait till the angels tell you, holy cow, that was awesome. So powerful. And in that little moment, that can change everything. It can be that simple. And we make it so. So I challenge you in the next few weeks, especially in this season. This season sometimes can go either way for people. They can either get really anxious, thinking they need to do all this stuff, or it can go just smooth and they're just in the moment all the time. And if you think about that little twig tree in the woods and an 8-year-old going out of his way with a bucket, and that's what was celebrated, I wonder if so many of us would think about how the tree looks exactly right, and if that matters as much. Something to think about. Because I know I let my kids decorate the tree every year. It looks like a funky tree, but it is the best little tree because they have so much fun. And then I go to a friend's house, and this might be a crazy example, but they are like the exact tree people, and they make fun of my tree every year. But you know what? I don't know. Maybe me just letting them have at it is what the angels are singing about. I have no idea. And I guess the point is none of us have any idea. But if you're in that moment and just enjoy it for what it is, instead of trying to maneuver it, we think we have a better chance. If you wouldn't mind in that last couple minutes here, if you would think of something that you do recognize as evoking gratitude within yourself, whatever that is, whatever gets you to that place. And what does your body feel like? If you just close your eyes and allow yourself to just feel, what does your body feel like when you remember that moment of gratitude? And allow that feeling to settle in your heart. And then allow your prayer to be for that feeling to spread to wherever it needs to, including your own self. Cicero says, a thankful heart is not only the greatest virtue, it's the parent of all virtues. Meister Eckhart said, if the only prayer you ever say in your entire life is thank you, it's enough. Blessings, everyone. Thank you for allowing me to share with you.